Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. I want to ask you a question. Are you ruminating about the narcissist? If you are, then you've come to the right place. I actually had several requests for this video recently, and I agreed it is a very good topic to consider, and it's something every single one of us deals with. So what is rumination? Rumination is basically, it's having repetitive thoughts, particularly of a negative variety, a series of thoughts that are recurring, continuously thinking through a thing. Like I said, usually in an anxious way, usually in a negative way. Though I do want to say, and as I'm going to cover here, rumination is not actually always a bad thing. So, rumination in the narcissistic relationship, what it basically means is, after you get out of this relationship, you are going to beat yourself up for a period of time. For some period of time, and it's different for everyone, you're going to beat yourself up. And you're going to wonder every little thing and ask every little question about that relationship. Why did it go that way? Who really was that person? Why did she say this? Why did he say this? Why did they do this? What did that really mean? Why did I respond the way that I did in that situation? Why did I let that person into my life at all? Why did the direction of the relationship turn so quickly on a dime when we got a few months in? Why did this person breadcrumb me seemingly, why were they so in and out? What were they really doing? The questions just go on and on and on. And what ends up typically happening is we evaluate our part to play in the relationship. And we often think to ourselves, if only I'd done this a little differently. What if I had done X, Y, or Z in a different way? What if I had not made the mistakes that I made? Because we buy into the idea that we actually were the culprits because that's what the narcissist wants you to think. It was really you, and if you'd done things differently, we would never have gotten here. In reality, it's just the opposite. We're only in this situation that we're in because the narcissist pushed it to that point, and they knew they were going to. But you beat yourself up, and you have the same repetitive thoughts often many times. I could have done something to change this relationship. I know that if only I'd given a little bit more, I'd been more attentive. I should not have gotten upset that they did this. I should not have handled this a certain way. What if I had better boundaries with some other situation and it didn't turn into this? What if? And it can start to drive you crazy after a while. You can get to a place where you start to go a little insane about it. So that is basically what rumination is. It is your mind perpetually thinking through, and honestly, usually negative ways, about what could have, should have been, what this meant, why it turned out that way. So I want to say a few things about rumination today. The first thing I want to say is, and I hope this calms some fears, or gives you a little bit of peace from the problem. One is, I want to say, rumination is absolutely unavoidable. You have to do it. It's just going to happen. There's no way you can be through the trauma of one of these relationships and go through what you go through with these people and not have any negative thoughts, any repetitive recurring thoughts. Because remember, you went through trauma. It is legitimate, sincere trauma that you go through with a narcissist. Even if you don't think of it that way, that's what it is. It is verbal abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse. Because that's honestly what it is at the end of the day. It's spiritual abuse. To go through the scenarios that they put you through, the kind of situations, the antics that they pull, the way they make you feel about yourself, the condescending, cruel attitudes and gestures and comments that you get on a regular basis that you just simply get used to. Maybe you get used to silly things, like the narcissist flips you off. Yeah, narcissists love to flip people off. If you've experienced that, let me know. But that's one of the things that I would get. And at first it's joking. You just think they shouldn't be doing it, but you think it's just a joke to them. And before you know it, you're getting flipped off on a regular basis. And you just come to accept it. Or maybe they cuss at you regularly and you just come to accept it. They tell you you're stupid, you're incapable, you're not a man. A nice little hint here for the men watching this. The female covert narcissist loves to degrade your manhood. I can't tell you how many times I heard, Brian, I want a man. I want more like a biblical man. You're not a man. Or they question your physical prowess in some way, or treat you like maybe you're incapable, that you couldn't handle yourself in a confrontation. You're weak. They love to question your manhood. That's the female covert narcissist. And so there's so many different things they do. When you go through these constant verbal abuses, putting you down, you're going to ruminate about things. So I want you to know it's impossible to think that's not going to happen. But what I also want to tell you is this points directly to the fact that this is spiritual in nature. Because when you're dealing with these constant, I talk about how the narcissist has what's called a bad object, where they have these cruel and condescending voices always swirling in their minds of past people, past events that degrade and talk down to them. The narcissist deals with this all the time, where the narcissist projects everything that they have onto the person they're with. They spew it out. They empty their contents onto you, and they take it out on you. You're the dark one. You're deeply disturbed. You're twisted. You'll do anything to hide yourself. That's the kind of thing that they might tell you, when in reality, that's just them emoting who they really are and pushing it onto you. So they'll do this constantly. The narcissist has a bad object, and actually, in a sense, when we come out of these relationships, we have a bad object too. It's that condescending voice that says, you should have done this differently. It was really your fault. The failure of the relationship falls on you. You should have had better boundaries with an ex, and she pushed your buttons. Or you shouldn't have been this close to somebody. Or you shouldn't have said this or reacted this way. If only you'd been there and not done this. We have the bad object for a while after the narcissistic relationship because they have pushed that onto us. So while ruminating is inevitable, it's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have to do it for a while. It's also spiritual in nature because what that bad object is indeed cruel, condescending voices that swirl around in your head. Well, that's not natural. That's not something that just normally, organically happens. And you didn't have that happening to you prior to the narcissistic relationship, probably. I know I didn't. But you do when you get out. They have pushed and projected their demonic attachment somehow, some way onto you because you forged yourself for a period with a person who has demonic attachment. So ruminating is negative. It's you thinking through all your faults, failures, negatives that you did in the relationship. And chances are, you didn't even really do a lot of these things. You're focusing on minor things that don't even mean a thing. Or things that you didn't even do. Because the narcissist and the demons attached to them are going to make you think that you're the problem. See, that's one of their major traps that the narcissist is able to succeed with, is they make you think it's actually you. And we come to conclude this. And then later on when you get out and you get healed, you think to yourself, I can't believe I really thought that it was me. She had me convinced it was me. Don't tell me that you haven't dealt with that, because I know you have. They are masters at projecting themselves and the blame onto you. They deflect, they project. They'll do anything to make sure you're the one who actually did it wrong. And that gets back to the ruminating. We do that. And that is a spiritual issue. When you have that kind of flood of constant negative recurring thoughts all the time, oh, I shouldn't have done, I can't believe I should, that's not natural. That's not normal. And that's a sign of trauma. So what I want to say is, though, ruminating, well, another thing I want to say, ruminating gives way to processing. See, rumination has a negative feel to it. And you're always going to have that to some degree in the healing process. And it's natural. But when you break through and you come to understand one really important thing, guys, hear nothing else in this video, hear this. The thing you come to realize, and you have to come to realize, is that there's not a single solitary thing on the face of the earth you could ever have done differently, better, worse, differently at all, that would have made the outcome of that relationship any different. You could not have changed what was going to happen. That relationship was going to fall apart. It was going to break down. It was going to erode. It would not matter if you had perfect human behavior, perfect. That relationship was still going to explode and implode. It just was. So when you come to understand that, ruminating can give rise to processing. And processing is different. Processing is when your mind is healing itself. When you are thinking about all the things that occurred in the relationship and peeling back all of the infinite number of layers. So that's what this meant. So that's why she did this. So that's why he did this. Okay, so what does this mean? What does that mean? And you have to do that. And you have to do that for a long time. But processing is positive. Processing is healing. And when you go through this for so long and you just continue to think about the narcissist, remember something, even though it starts negative in rumination and it becomes processing things, all the while, all of that is natural and necessary and healing and restorative. Guys, what the narcissist does not do is process, analyze, heal. They ruminate all forever in that negative sense. They're always negatively thinking about things because of that bad object. They don't break free of it. They don't process. How many times have you heard people say this? If you're watching these channels, probably a lot. The narcissist does not process things. They don't process what they did wrong. They don't heal at all from things. Instead, they stay stuck in rumination. And boy, do they ruminate. It's one of their curses. And we do it, like I said, for a while after the relationship ends. Because that's part of the process, but it's also part of the spiritual nature of it. They have beaten you, bludgeoned you. You have to think through it, and it starts negatively more than anything else. When you come to understand, like I said, I think the key to unlocking it is that not a single thing you possibly could have done would have changed the relationship. Not one thing. Guys, nothing. When you realize that, the ruminating becomes processing. And then you start to unlock other things, and you start to heal. This is why going and doing self-isolation is so crucial. You want to think through this. If you think the fact that you're stuck on thinking about the narcissist is a bad thing, it's not always a bad thing. You have to actually do it. This is your brain's way and your mind's way of repairing itself. You have undergone damage. You've got to repair what is broken. So thinking through it, always processing, videos, thinking, unlocking, peeling back the layers. That's how you actually heal. The narcissist doesn't do it. They stay stuck in rumination, negativity, bad, evil, spiritual thoughts. That's where they stay stuck. We don't stay stuck there because the rumination gives way to processing. Once you realize that it wasn't your fault. The narcissistic relationship wasn't your fault. You couldn't have done a thing to change it. You couldn't have done a single thing. I know I'm saying that a lot, but you've got to get that part of it. And when you do, you're free. You're free to start processing. And you're healing. And your mind is fixing itself. And you're getting to a better place. I hope this is helpful for somebody to talk about this. We often say it's negative, it's bad. Why are you still thinking about the narcissist? You're thinking about the narcissist as long as you need to think about the narcissist. This healing journey that everybody is on, it's not the same for every person. And as I've told people, it takes as long as it takes. What, it's been 6 months and I'm still thinking about the narcissist all the time. Well, you need to then. Then you need to. Because your brain is still processing what happened. You're still thinking through it. You're healing. What's taken 10 months? It's been 2 years, I still think about the narcissist. Well, that's because you have to. Now, I'm not trying to say that you cannot stay stuck in a negative pattern like the narcissist does. You can stay stuck there when you don't get the wisdom, when you don't have breakthrough, and you don't come to understand that it was not your fault. Did you commit any faults? You probably did, but you're not the reason that relationship failed. They are bound and determined and hell-bent on blowing the relationship up. It's them. They do it. Don't blame yourself for the narcissist. Once you come to realize that, like I said, you can break through. If you are still continuously having the negative type of bad object thoughts on and on and on and on, that's a problem. You're stuck like the narcissist. But that's not how this works when you get the knowledge. So don't feel bad if it's been a year, it's been a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, and sometimes you still have negative thoughts. That is normal. You underwent something that a lot of people never go through. Unfortunately, more and more all the time. You went through a very serious traumatic ordeal. You have to heal. You have to think about it. Ruminating and having negative thoughts is part of that. But hopefully, as time goes on, you're transitioning to the positivity, where you're literally just thinking about the situation objectively. It's not dragging you down. You're not stuck ruminating. And it will improve. But I'm telling you, the way that it starts with improvement is to realize you weren't to blame for it. Then ruminating becomes processing. And processing becomes healing. And you do get to a point where you can almost laugh at the narcissist antics. And yeah, you still watch videos sometimes. Or maybe a decent bit, because it's interesting. Because you're still unpacking the layers of evil that is narcissism. But it's not because you're stuck constantly having negative rumination, negative thoughts. When you come to understand certain key realities, that these people are evil. They came to destroy you. That's their purpose. Nothing you could have done would ever have saved the relationship. Then you can start to have that processing. Positive things. So I hope this is helpful. I know this is a little more abstract than most of my videos, but I do think it's important. If you're ruminating, it is common. In fact, it's necessary. But that ruminating needs to give rise to processing and positivity, healing. Remember, that is what separates us from the narcissist. They get stuck forever in this rumination because it is their fault. They can't come to understand that it wasn't them to blame because it is them to blame. They did this. They did the evil acts and they have the bad object connection forever. We break out of that. We realize it wasn't us. We just have to put the narcissist behind us. We have to process what really happened as long as that takes. And when we do, we come out the other end. And I'm going to say, we don't ever stop thinking about the narcissist completely in all respects. Because part of it is good to hang on to, in my opinion. Not the negatives, not to blame yourself and not that, but to remember what they did and who they are. And that they surround you in this planet. It's everywhere. Because if you understand that, you don't fall victim to it again. You're on alert. You have barriers up from toxic people. So, I hope this is helpful. That's the main point, guys, the takeaway. Don't beat yourself up because you're ruminating. Understanding that is necessary, especially when you first come out of it. It's a part of the process. But you have to get to a place where the ruminating gives rise to processing, which is a positive experience of unraveling all the layers of the onion in an objective, not self-deprecating kind of a way. And that is when you're on the healing path. Do that as long as it takes. Don't feel bad about thinking about them. It takes as long as it takes. But make sure you're moving in the right direction and you're always cognizant of the fact that it was the narcissist and not you. Hope this is helpful for somebody. I'm definitely going to come at you with another one later this week. Until then, God bless.